Nation's broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
I feel the same. I've always thought you're absolutely the best and always enjoyed being around you. And
listen to Alan Cutler, folks. It's a pleasure for me, an honor to be on here with such a legend.
Everything you said was absolutely 100% correct.
Man, is this the great Alan Cutler? Is this the infamous Alan Cutler?
Of all the broadcast television people that I've encountered, you are among the absolute elite.
Cut to the chase has a 5-length lead past the 16th pole. Cut to the chase. Victor Espinoza to win it.
Continue doing what you're doing. You're really good at it.
I talk on many radio shows, and you are the best.
Be nice, America. Let's have a great day.
Sorry, we have no filter.
So you're a legend here in Kentucky.
You know I love you, man. I mean, you and I have a unique relationship.
Alan Cutler Show all the way, brother.
I'm Cutler. I wrote Cut to the Chase. Not a good book, not a great book, a spectacular book.
Hey, let's give it up right here. This is my guy. Yes. I'm so happy to see you.
This is going to sound like really... I think because of me, to be honest. I think because of me.
That is smoke deep right center field. Luke Raley fading back. And gone. Out the gate, a home run for Ellie De La Cruz. First pitch at Eugenio Suarez, left center field. Robles going way back, and that is gone. And Lowe drives this ball to left field. A Rosarena fading way back. Opposite way and gone.
Certainly for a running back in Benny Snell, who can get loose into the secondary.
Over the middle, Conrad wide open. Nobody's there. Touchdown, Kentucky, 46 yards.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Good afternoon. Cutler with Olivia in control for the first time. So poor Olivia. Good luck, Olivia. I hope you survived today. Sean is in the background. Honored and pleased to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me. The couple of clips, CJ Conrad with the touchdown. And that was courtesy of the SEC Network. We're going to stick in some clips just to get more of a feel because UK football is just around the corner. And how about the Reds? Not one, not two, but 3 home runs last night. 3, and Burns was terrific. Terrific. And we'll talk about the Reds with Hal McCoy, who has some interesting takes in his last 2 columns about the Reds and their stupidity. And you can hear every pitch of the Reds right here on 1300 AM and 92.5 FM. Gosh, I'll talk to Hal about this later. And I don't want to do a big Reds thing in the monologue right now. I want to get into UK. And something about Pope I'm going to be so positive about, you're going to be shocked. I do say positive things about Pope, but this was beautiful, and he was ahead of everybody. But my gosh, I haven't put the numbers together, but I would bet Olivia's paycheck, easy for me to do, Sean's paycheck, and my paycheck. Nah, I'm not going to do my paycheck. That the Yankees spend less money on their bullpen than the Cincinnati Reds. And if I'm wrong, it's close. And by the way, this wouldn't be the first year in the last 5 that's true. They pick up guys and they improve them. And the Reds pick up guys, and some of them turn out pretty good, and a lot of them don't. And so I've asked this question before, and I will to Hal. Why the hell are the Yankees that much better? And the Yankees bullpen is pretty damn good, and they're looking to make one more acquisition, and that would be a big one if they can get Miller from San Diego, but they probably won't give up much. It's 2 inside. I'm going to leave it alone. That's not the point. But they've picked up, the other night they had 4 relief pitchers, and 3 of them were quite scrap heap. Close, cheap, and they're good. And by the way, the Yankees don't have the best bullpen in baseball. That's not the point, but it's good enough to win. And the Reds' bullpen is good enough to lose. And so when you talk all about this stuff, well, the Reds have the kind of money that Tampa Bay has and Milwaukee has, and look what they do, and look how the Reds suck. And that's been going on for decades, and a different definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. Just food for thought. So it's, not all about money. Yankees got a ton of money. They just won't put it in the bullpen because they've been successful. They don't want to. They've let a couple of really good relief pitchers go because they didn't want to spend the money, and they replaced him with a fraction of the cost. Just a thought. Jackie Alexander is going to join us at 12:30. I'm going to guess most of you never heard of Jackie. What a beautiful story. captain in the Army, now head coach, Morehead State women's basketball. And you look at her background, and I'm a huge fan. What this lady has done is off the charts. And she's been a recruiting coordinator more than once. On the surface, Kelly Wells, give you a hat tip, looks like a brilliant hire. After that, Mark Story is always good. And I really like his column today. I've said multiple times that this is way before the commissioner spoke the other day, that the SEC is not the number one conference when it comes to football. Not in the last 3 years. I don't give a crap what anybody says. I don't care if it ticks off the commissioner. And when the commissioner spoke, he did all the positive things, and he brought out a bunch of positive stuff. But Mark Story did the whole thing. He talked about all the stats that the commission didn't say and wouldn't say. It's not his job to bring up the other stats. But, Mark, I got to tell you, the column was boom. He took my concept, not that he took my concept, the concept I've been saying. Excuse me, Mark, I'm not suggesting you took it from me. Sorry, I didn't mean that. He took the concept that I have been saying, he did his own thing, and it's really, really good. I mean, not a little good, but really, really good. So, Jackie Alexander, Mark Story, Hal McCoy. It sounds like fun. All right. I have to say this beautiful thing about Mark Pope. I have said great things about Mark, and I have criticized Mark. I've done both, and will continue to both, depending upon what I feel. Think about what Kentucky did. I want you to take a step back. And hat tip credit to the UK Sports Network because they get the one-on-one interview with Mark. Can you imagine if I try to walk into practice? First of all, I don't even think I get to the practice floor. Somebody would say, Alan, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And if I could sneak in, okay, and said I wanted to talk to Pope, Pope would probably come up and say hi and wouldn't do an interview. And it would cause all kinds of problems. And I wouldn't do it, by the way. I mean, I just wouldn't do it. Wouldn't get me anywhere, would tick people off. They could threaten to take my credentials away, and I don't give a crap about that. But that's neither here nor there. Wouldn't do it. So they have first dibs on everything, and BBN tonight has second dibs. And then it's the rest of the world versus some people maybe they favor over others. That part I'm not getting into. It's really not that important. I really don't give a rat's 99% of the time. But the point is this. This was really good of what the UK Sports Network had and what's going on. So I want you to think about what Pope did. They went to Vegas. He was brilliant. You have the Summer League there, so you can watch all these former Cats that are playing and just watch the Summer League and get an up-close feel about what the NBA is like in the summer. And Pope on that clip talked about how Marino, all he wanted to do was see Amari Williams. They got to see all the guys. All the guys. It's beautiful. And sitting in the first row. And Wilkins apparently said how much he loved it. What a great recruiting tool when you can talk to recruits and it happens to come out. We did something nobody else did, and on top of it, at least I don't think another school was there, and on top of it, we did it first. We did it first. You don't think that's impressive to a 17 and 18-year-old? Here's the other thing. Everybody knew they were going to practice. I guessed that this happened, but I didn't say anything because I didn't know. Now, you know all these NBA scouts are there because they're looking at the Summer League. They're looking at players who might be dropped that they want or players that they like they might want to trade for. And it's like a convention of NBA people. You're in Vegas. It's convention. It's basketball and having fun. That's what it is. A lot of games. Some have a lot of fun. Some don't have much fun, depending what your status is with the NBA. But the point is, if you think about it, Kentucky was practicing in the morning, and Pope said practicing hard, and they had all these NBA people there. How brilliant is that for all the kids that play for the University of Kentucky? It's brilliant. Kind of like, in a way, what Cal did when he was the first to do it, when he had that little camp with all these NBA people would come in and stuff like that. And Cal was the first to do it. Others copied it after that. One of the many things, Cal was ahead of everybody. This is really cool. So you're a Kentucky player. You get to see the Summer League. You get to sit in the first row. You get a feeling of the NBA. You get to see some guys that you know, whether you played for Kentucky or not. In all probability, everybody in the team knows somebody there, right? Or guess what? Even if you didn't play with Kentucky, you're getting to meet some of those Kentucky guys because they're around the Kentucky guys before or after the game. It's great. You get to go shopping. You get to get away from Pope. Pope's not babysitting 24 hours a day. They go out and do their own thing. This is a huge win-win. And this is how Pope put it, that Vegas, for that time period when UK basketball was there, they were the capital of the basketball world. Now, take a chill pill for a second. I know, and you know, Pope is often doing what? Hyperbole like crazy. This is not hyperbole. This is reality. Now I'm saying to myself, why the hell didn't 10 teams do that? Here's something else. I wonder how many teams will try to do this next year. I would bet if Pope is as smart as I think he is, they will try to make that a yearly trip. It's really smart. Tell me something negative. You practice in the morning so you get to practice with your team. NBA scouts, I don't know if there's a general manager, wouldn't surprise me. All these NBA people are watching. They get another feel for these kids. That's wonderful for your future. You get to sit in the first row of the Summer League. You get to see former teammates, and maybe if they're not former teammates, other guys that you know. You get a feel for the NBA. You get to hang out in Vegas. That's a grand slam. Olivia, what do you think? If I'm a Kentucky player, don't you think that is an absolute perfect vacation, work vacation? You're a basketball player. This is like, I'm thinking of three things, but it's like a grand slam. Is this perfect or not?
I would definitely say it's perfect.
And Pope did it first. Now, I guarantee you, Olivia, I guarantee you, in some of the meetings in different schools around the country and stuff like that, where the head coach is talking to assistant coaches, there's a head coach saying, why didn't you guys think of that? How come Kentucky did that and we didn't do it? Seriously. And by the way, I used to say that at times when Cal did. That Cal will do something when he had that scout thing. My first thought was, one, it was brilliant. It really was. Okay. And two, you know, there were coaches in all kinds of places talking to their staff. Why the hell didn't you think of that? Why didn't we think of that? Why are they first? So a little love for Pope. I think it's brilliant. And on top of that, what do they do all the time? Recruit, right? And now you have the top players in the country that they are talking to and offering scholarships to, and they see that Kentucky is there. That's really cool. That elevates Kentucky not a little, but tremendously. Tremendously. It's a huge deal. I'm going to tell you, it's one of the smartest things Pope has done. Period. And normally this wouldn't be something I do high up in a monologue, but I have this thing, it just infuriates the hell out of me. And I went over the edge years ago when Ron Santo made the Hall of Fame. Ron Santo was a big-time third baseman who became one of the most popular Cubs in the history of that freight franchise as a broadcaster. And diabetes got to him. And it's one of the great sports stories, if you think about it, back when he was coming up through the minor leagues. Are you kidding? If they knew you were diabetic and had to shoot yourself, they would probably get rid of you. That's what was done back then. And so when Santo played in the minor leagues, he literally had to sneak in the bathroom and shoot himself up in the bathroom because he was a diabetic, and had a wonderful career. And towards the end of his broadcasting career, they took his leg away. It was bad at the end. So he passes. And I have this pet peeve a lot of people do. You know, whether it's 3 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, your stats are your stats. And I can picture this like it was yesterday. I happened to watch the Cub game where pregame they honored Ron Santo and his wife and kids. I remember where they were standing on the third base line, and they're crying. And their dad wasn't there. And I was so, Olivia, you almost hit the button for the first time in your producing career. I was so angry. I was screaming at the TV. His numbers didn't get any better, and he should have been there while he was alive to enjoy it. But they put him in right after he died. Like all of a sudden, his numbers became better. They should have put him in, not the first time he was available to be in, but he should have been put in years ago. Why am I saying that? I wasn't great friends with Bob Trumpy. The times we interacted, he couldn't have been any nicer to me. He really is the king of sports talk. If you want to look at sports talk and how it evolved, Bob Trumpy is it. Before anybody in FAM radio in New York. I know Mike and the Mad Dog get a ton of credit, which they richly deserve. Trumpy was the best first. Maybe he was Pete Franklin. You're not going to find 5 before Trumpy who really shaped how sports talk was done. Oh, and by the way, it's a great tight end. Undersized, fast, got downfield, super smart. Why am I going through all this? Trumpy hasn't been gone that long. I'm reading the release. The Bengals today announced that tight end Bob Trumpy and halfback James Brooks. He played at Auburn with a guy named Bo Jackson. I would venture to say that might have been the best 1-2 combination in the history of college football. Gosh, he was a blur. Matter of fact, they came to Lexington one time, Bo Jackson and James Brooks, and the game was over so bad in the first quarter, they just knocked the crap out of Kentucky. It was a great football team. Anyway, Bob Trumpy and James Brooks will be added to the team's Ring of Honor in 2026. Now, when I did the Bengals radio network for 14 years, I would complain about this, but people were complaining about this way before me. So this is not an Alan Cutler deal complaining about. You know, the Dallas Cowboys have their Ring of Honor, and I never understood, and nobody in the media understood, and fans didn't understand, and it was every now and then part of sports talk up in Cincinnati. I took some calls occasionally about that on 700 WOW. Everybody did. This is not an Alan Cutler thing. Like, why don't they honor their former players? And former players had gone to Mike Brown and asked, and they finally did it. So this Ring of Honor, I'm trying to remember how many years is it. It's not that old. Actually, unless I've lost my mind, it happened after I retired from doing the Bengals radio network. Anyway, so Bob Trumpy and James Brooks will join Kenny Anderson, who should be in the Hall of Fame, Willie Anderson, the best right tackle of his time in the National Football League, and he's not in the Hall of Fame, which is stupid. Had he played for a team that won the Super Bowl, he'd have been a long time ago. Paul Brown, Isaac Curtis, Corey Dillon, Boomer Esiason, Chad Johnson, Dave Lapham, Tim Kermeray, Anthony Munoz, Lamar Parrish, Ken Riley, probably the best pair of cornerbacks on one team at the same time in the history of the National Football League. And Kenny Riley was a quarterback in college, and they turned him into the Rattler, one of the top 10 corners of all time. So Trumpy and Brooks are joining this group, all richly deserved. You know how sometimes you say, well, so-and-so got in, but this guy should have been in first. I can't argue with anybody who's already in. Can't. They all deserve to be in. All literally all-time greats. Part of the Bengals Ring of Honor. It just, when I saw Trumpy, I want to tell you, I said a word that I can't say on radio today. And again, it's not like I was close to Bob Trumpy. Yeah, we had some conversations, but, you know, he didn't big-time me, and he was good to everybody, and he took on the Bengals and Mike Brown a lot, and they had a very interesting relationship. Here's the quote. I'll go on to something else after this. This just bothers me. Bengals president Mike Brown, in my opinion, during his time, Bob was the best receiving tight end in the league. Couldn't agree more. He was a top-level player. He had a long stride. He had good hands. Because the safeties couldn't stay with him because he was so fast, back to the quote, he became a productive downfield threat for us. He had something that drove him to be good, and he became a great player. Agree with every single word of the quote. Every single word. Sorry, it just bothers me. It's not fair to Trumpy. It's not fair to his family. And if you're a younger person, and I'm not being disrespectful, Bob Trumpy was king in Cincinnati. I mean, king. When I was doing TV, I didn't go home 3 times a year because by the time you go home and ate something quickly, you had to get back. There was no family time. You had to slobber it down, so I never went home. Everybody else did, but I didn't. part of my problem about being a workaholic. And when Trumpy was on, I got in the car and I listened to Bob Trumpy over Lexington Sports Talk. Occasionally Lexington Sports Talk. Occasionally, because Trumpy was that good. He was that good. So let me be positive. Let me be positive. You see where I'm coming from? And I don't get it. I don't get it. Nick Senzel, by the way, I do some tidbits here, who was on our show weeks and weeks and weeks ago, former first-round draft choice of the Bengals, now part of the Legends, had hit a couple home runs. What a great guy, by the way. And appreciative that he's back in baseball. Legends, they tried to come back, and they did, but they lost 11-10 to High Point. And I hope he gets another chance. And I remember when the Reds drafted him, I thought he was going to be not a Hall of Fame third baseman. And I follow his career just a little bit. I don't follow SEC baseball like some others do. I'm not going to lie about it, but he was at Tennessee, and I thought he was going to be a starting third baseman for a lot of years in the National Football League. It just didn't work out that way. And I hope he gets another chance. And part of what the Legends do is an independent. They make money selling players, and they literally recruit players that they think they have a chance to sell. It's part of how they make money. And they have a really good reputation of bringing guys in who have been there. And you don't expect them to go to the big show immediately, but an organization will, let's say, put them on their farm system. And then you kind of go from there. And I don't know the number, but it's a number of players that they've already sold. And it's a big part of their budget. And they literally are recruiting year-round to bring in players like Nick Senzel. And so, guys like Nick can then ask around and say, yeah, what's it like in Lexington? How's the organization? Are players, if they play well, getting a chance? And it's all yes, 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 and yes. I mean, that's what it is. Yes, 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 yes. Olivia, get Willie Rodriguez, please, clip number 3, and give me a thumbs up when you have it. This is the hype season, as everybody knows. And I want to believe everything that comes out of the hype season. I don't. I take it with a grain of salt. And I think it's really possible that this could be true. That's how I look at all these sound bites. You go to the SEC, I think everybody knows that. You're going to get nothing but positive stuff. You are. You are. And then you get occasionally, and I was thinking about this, when is the last time in the SEC media days that anybody, not just Kentucky, but anybody had a stronger soundbite that when Will Stein says, yeah, we're going to win because of me. And by the way, and I buy it. And I really buy it because he's changing the organization. And coaching can make that much of a difference if they win. I buy it. He's changed so much stuff around here, it's not even funny. Now we'll see if it works. So Willie Rodriguez, who everybody in the world says is going to be a hell of an NFL player, and I'm really curious to see how he is moved around. And this is the perfect offense for him because Stein throws the dump out passes they can't throw to the tailbacks, but they throw much more to the tight ends. He has said it. Besides, that's his history if you followed him. So Willie Rodriguez talking about the quarterback, Minchie.
I think he really gets going. When he gets going, he's really accurate. And I think we have been building this chemistry for a while now. And if we miss something, we go back, we fix it right away. We're talking constantly, throwing on, different days and stuff like that, just trying to get stuff down to perfection.
I believe as soon as he committed, I think he said this the other day, and I think I've heard this before, as soon as he committed to Kentucky, Minchie, Willie was texting him. And they got together quickly. By the way, Olivia, if you get Stein clip number 5 ready and give me a thumbs up. And so they quickly bonded. Which is a beautiful thing. Now, there's a couple things you can look at in here. There's actually at least 2. Stein talking about, the talent in Kentucky and different places. And for years, when I got here in the early 80s, about 1,000 years before Olivia was born, one of the things I heard is high school football in Kentucky is not that good. And I would take it another way. Okay, it's not as good as Florida, duh. It's not as good as Texas, not as good as California. They also have fewer people here. But it's also not as good as those states. There are some really good coaches and really good players, and there always have been, and there always will be. There's no question about that. But I remember years ago when I went to Texas to do a story when Claude Bassett, who was kicked out of Kentucky and kicked out of college football. And I went to Robestown, Texas to do a story in this tiny school that couldn't win. And that's where he ended up. And I found out, this is a long time ago now. Okay. I found out they were coordinators in high school making six figures back then. And I remember when we drove to Robestown High School, we passed a couple of these huge football high school stadiums. And I remember coming back and saying, we saw two stadiums with, I don't know, 15, 20 miles, whatever it was, going to Robestown that were much, and I'm not being a slight to them because they won a national championship and they've been a wonderful program, but they were so much bigger than Georgetown College, it's not even funny. Texas high school football is more important than it is here. I'm not knocking anybody here. Now, it's important to the people who do it. There's no question about it. But Texas high school football is just different. So that is what it is. So there's been a knock on talent in Kentucky. And I have always said there's a number of really talented people in the state, just not the same numbers as in Ohio. Here's Stein, clip number 5, talking about talent.
I think the state of Kentucky currently is as good as I've ever seen with high school recruiting. I mean, the game's changed so much. There's better teams throughout the state. You know, I don't know how many Division I players there are in this class, but, you know, we got 4 or 5 of them committed to us right now from Kentucky. So, I mean, there's probably 15 kids in the state this year, and there's another crew next year. So I believe the state of Kentucky is definitely picking up in terms of high school talent and just players in general. But, you know, we'll go anywhere for a player. You know, if they're in Alaska or freaking Maine or whatever, they love UK and they're good enough to play in the SEC for us, we'll go get them. So, you know, we obviously like to focus on the 6-hour radius around Lexington, Cincinnati, Nashville, Charlotte, Chicago, Indianapolis, Atlanta. You kind of start in these home bases and then spread out based on who really wants to come to Kentucky, which a lot of kids do. You know, I think we have a great brand. It's very powerful. Big Blue Nation's real. They love the offense and defense that we run, and they want to be a part of something really cool.
Now, obviously, 6 hours because mom and dad can drive in from Atlanta on a Saturday morning or Friday night, stay in a hotel. Everybody does that. I will say this. This is fascinating, and I don't remember the years, but there were a lot of years when the consensus was that the state of Kentucky maybe had 5 players good enough to play at Kentucky. A lot of years. You know who would have a better answer for that? I'm going to text Larry Vaught. But I'm sure years like that. So for him to say 15, that's a huge indication, and this has been going on for years anyway, that high school football in the state of Kentucky has gotten better. And it really has. The training, the lifting, the coaching, there's no question about it, it's gotten better. So that's pretty good. Lovely guest from Morehead State, Jackie Alexander, coming up next. But first, I want to talk about my friends at Quantrell. Cadillac, Volvo, Subaru. I say every day we have the the XC60, my bad, don't even know what car I have. It's the best car we've had. It is smooth. It's a great ride. And with a hybrid plug-in, it is saving us just a ton of money. It really is. And we've had not 1, not 2, but 3 vehicles. 3. The VC60 is the 3rd, and we've had 2 Cadillacs. And we trust Quantrill. Trust them a lot. Look at all the business we've given them. And don't forget, Saturday morning at Red River Gorge, coffee in one hand, leash in the other, and your dog already ready to go. Subaru, the gravel roads. Subaru, trailheads. Subaru, windows down through the bluegrass. That's life in a Quantrill. Subaru, built for the hikes, built for the road trips, built for everything in between. Now receive 1.9% interest for 75 months on the 2026 Subaru Outback. See dealer for details. QuantrillSubaru.com. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show on ESPN 92.5 and 1300 AM and on the ESPN Lexington app. Presented by Republic Bank.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313, 859-381-1313.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Oh, heavenly day.
She's coming to Lexington, Patty Griffin, Tuesday, August 4th at the historic Kentucky Theater. Tickets on sale now at the Kentucky Theater box office, presented by Highbridge Springwater and ESPN Lexington.
Ready to feel the surge? Good, because Cadillac didn't come to play. At Quantrill Cadillac, this is power redefined. All electric speed or gas-fed adrenaline, built to move, built to lead. Right now, get in with financing as low as 2.9% APR for up to 60 months on select models. No limits. No apologies. Just drive. Check them out. I love the Cadillacs. QuattroCadillac.com. See dealer for details.
ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Before I say hello to Jackie Alexander, I knew you graduated Cumberland's in 2014 because I read your bio when you first got hired at Moorhead. But you're obviously smarter than most basketball coaches because you got a bachelor's degree in biology. How many basketball coaches have a degree in biology? Most of it's knitting. I'm just kidding. Before earning her master's degree at ETSU in sports management in 2023. But here's the deal, which I find fascinating. Rockcastle County standout. Okay. Army. A captain. You were a captain in the U.S. Army from 2014 to 2017. And please tell me if I've made a mistake here. Reaching the rank of captain with a deployment to Iraq in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. Is all that correct?
Yeah, you got it right.
I can't imagine the feeling in your stomach defending America and putting yourself in harm's way. Male, female, I don't care. A human being doing it. What's that like?
Yeah, honestly, when you join the military, it's what you train for all the time. So I got to Fort Campbell, and when I got there, the unit that I was joining was deploying, and I didn't get to go. And from that moment on, I wanted to go. I wanted to, put the training that I was always trained, the things that I was doing, I wanted to put those things to use. And so, yeah, it was a little intimidating at first, but then you get into the groove of things and you get to know the people you're with. And it sounds crazy, but it was sort of like any other job.
What?
I know.
Okay. This sounds silly, but were you in harm's way?
I was not. I was fortunate.
Okay, but then again, crazy things do happen. So is this proper to say it? I don't want to stretch it the wrong way. Others were more in harm's way than you. Is that a proper way to say that?
Yeah, I think when you're over there, you're always in some sort of danger, right? But I was just fortunate that the units that I was with nothing, we didn't see any combat or anything like that.
Jack Alexander, Moorhead State women's basketball coach, kind enough to join us. When did you decide that you wanted to maybe become a captain? How young were you when it hit you that you wanted to represent America and defend America?
Yeah, it's funny. I never really wanted to be in the military. What kind of happened for me was basketball brought that aspect of my life into my life. I was a junior in high school and going through the recruiting process. I was recruited by some regional schools, and then out of nowhere, Army West Point saw me play basketball at a AAU tournament and was interested. And so I began the process with them. And I remember actually the coach that called me first, I still talk to him, and I remember he left a message on my answering machine, like telling me to call him back. And I remember the first question I asked when I called him back was, "Do I have to be in the army to go here?" Because I was like, "Hard no. If I have to be in the army to go here, I'm not doing that." And my mom didn't even want me to call them back, but I did. I did call them back, and I ended up visiting and committing there and going there my freshman year. And that's kind of what led me into that. I didn't end up staying there. I didn't graduate from there, but it's kind of what started the momentum and just the thought of it for me.
I bet your mom didn't want to call back.
No. She supports it now and thinks it's great, but at the time, I just don't think parents don't see their sons and daughters like they don't see that as a future for them. But it's great for the people that do choose to do it. Extremely thankful for those people.
I have a good friend, Tony Franklin, who coached at Kentucky. He coached all over the place. That many times was a big-time offensive coordinator. That he coached the Army team 150 pounds and under. And he said, and I have to do it. He said, Cutler, you got to go up there. The campus is the most beautiful thing. And he said, as a coach, I've never been anywhere where there was no discipline problems.
Right.
They word, and I've never been around a group of people who tried so hard to do everything right. He said to do it late in my career was so refreshing. We get the discipline.
Yeah, I just think it's built into what you do there, and so it's just something that at a place like that, it's just something that is part of it. But I think for me, to be honest, like the way my parents raised me with discipline and a work ethic, I had a little bit of that in me already, and so I think it made the transition to the military easy. But if you don't have it, they're going to form it into you. That's for sure.
You don't have a choice. There's no
Yeah,
choice.
you don't have a choice.
So basically, you're going when you're going to college, you get no sleep, right? You're up at 6 a.m. doing calisthenics and all kinds of crazy stuff. You go to school, you have study hall, and then there's more training and stuff like that. Before we get into more, just a taste of what you remember. Not a stressful day, wink, wink, but what an average day was. So people get a taste and feel as to how committed you have to be and how much discipline you have to be to attempt to do this properly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, our day started, first formation was around 6 a.m. and then you had built-in breakfast. You had to be at breakfast. And then first classes started at 7:45, if I recall correctly, or maybe it was 7:30. It was early. It was before your typical 8 a.m. Classes in the civilian college world. And then, you had classes all day. Like you were pretty much in class from, 7:30 to 3:30. There's an hour for lunch built in. And then once 3:30 hit, if you were an athlete, you had practice and all of your obligations to that. But if you weren't a NCAA athlete, everyone was an athlete. So everyone played intramurals. Every single person participated in that. And then the days that there wasn't sports, there was military training on those days. So you always had something to do. There was no really going to your room and taking a nap. And I think that structure obviously exists at West Point, but that structure also exists in the actual military too. So, when I was on active duty, PT starts at 6 a.m. So you have to be up and going through the gate at least 5:30 to get there on time. So not a lot of room for hanging out in either of those worlds.
Jackie Alexander, kind enough to join us. Did you not sleep for 5 years or something like that?
Looking back, I don't know how I did that all the time, but it just becomes what you're used to and what you do. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting.
So why did you decide to become a coach? Was this something ingrained early on or your love of the game, obviously? But, I've talked to enough people through the years that very often some people say, I knew as a kid. I've teased Mark Pope when he was here at Kentucky. And, I covered him, stuff like that. I asked him if he ever wanted to coach. He went, no. Andy Green is once again a major league manager. And when he was having this great career, he was a top 10 pick in the major leagues. And I've been following since he was played high school ball here. Do you want to manage? No. So, some people know, some people don't, some people are surprised. I always have found it interesting. When did you decide you wanted to become a basketball coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always loved basketball, and it's interesting. No one in my family played sports or was a coach or anything like that. I have a twin sister, and my mom growing up was really big on letting my sister and I find our own identities and what we were interested in. And so I guess when I was in the third grade, I brought the Little League papers home and asked my mom if I could play. And of course she said yes. And so I just kind of started off and loved it, honestly. Like I was always a good student, things like that. but I never found a passion for anything that was like it was for basketball. And so I always knew I wanted to coach. But when I, obviously played Division I to start, ended up transferring NAI and played at University of the Cumberlands is where I finished up. And as I was navigating my career and what would come next, I felt like as a player who did not play division. This sounds silly, but it's silly now. But at the time, a player who didn't end up playing Division I basketball, like, could I get into coaching? And I wasn't sure. And so that's why you mentioned the biology degree and you mentioned the masters and all those things. I'm a type of person, I'm going to have plan A, B, C, D, and E. And so I did the biology route because I actually was going to go to med school or PA school. I mean, I went the whole 9 yards. I took the MCAT, applied to schools, did all the things because I was afraid that coaching might not work out. And so fortunately it has, but always wanted to have a backup. And so, yeah, I mean, I knew from a very early age I wanted to coach. I just didn't know if I could coach. But I do think my story is a testament to all the players that play at any level. It doesn't matter what level you play. It matters the relationships you build along the way and, how you learn the game and then your ability to teach the game.
Your resume, if this is right, it's not unusual. You joined the Air Force in 17-18 as a video coordinator, and then Albany, director of operations, interim assistant. Okay, but this is what I find interesting. Your next three places: Eastern Kentucky, East Tennessee State, and Toledo. You're an assistant coach recruiting coordinator. So you have done recruiting like crazy over your career, and I'm sure it helped you out. And then when you went to Illinois, it just says assistant coach. I don't know if that's moving up in the world or different responsibilities, or they had somebody doing there. It doesn't make a difference. You've done that. Being a recruiting coordinator in today's world of NIL, easier or everything is tough in recruiting?
I think everything is tough in recruiting. You have your challenges no matter where you are. And yeah, the recruiting coordinator experience, I do have to, my first boss as an assistant coach was Samantha Williams at Eastern Kentucky. And she was very big on recruiting. That had kind of been her role when she was an assistant at Louisville. And when she brought in her staff there, I was part of it. It was very important for us to recruit. And someone had told me early on in my career, if you can recruit, you will always have a job. And so it's so true, right? Like recruiting and getting talented players into your program is the lifeline of your program. And so that's kind of how I got into that pipeline of being a recruiting coordinator. But yeah, recruiting is tough no matter. I still believe though, even in the age of NIL, the relationships matter. And so how I've always done it, how we are doing it here, building relationships with players early and consistently, and then maintaining those relationships. I think a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in the offer and posting that on social media or the dollar figure associated with that, but you can't put a price on a relationship and a good experience. So it's challenging nonetheless, though.
Is it fun or is it tons less fun from when you started at Albany in 18 and 19 because everybody's asking for money? Has a recruit not asked you for money?
I have had a few not talk about it. So that's been amazing. Look at that guy. Yeah, so that's been amazing.
This was an unannounced appearance.
I saw it. I saw it before you did. So, but the cool thing about being here at Morehead State, obviously I'd been the recruiting coordinator at Toledo, ETSU, recruited heavily at EKU. And when I got the job here, I had inherited 0 players in the age of the transfer portal. And so I had to fill a team quickly via the portal. And 9 out of 12 players that are on our team, I recruited before. And so that is interesting, right? But it's also a bit of an advantage and again, a testament to how important recruiting is.
Wow. 9 out of 12? So you're recruiting them what? For Illinois, Toledo, East Tennessee State, those 3 schools, I'm guessing?
Mostly ETSU and Toledo.
Okay. But no disrespect to Morehead, Toledo is considered a little higher of a level, so you were able to have conversations with young women who would be probably very good at Morehead State. Again, I'm not ripping anything or anybody. I'm hoping you're taking it the right.
No, there's levels to levels, right? And there's net rankings and rank conferences and all those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, fortunate that relationships kind of prevailed, to be honest. And yeah, we were able to put together a really talented roster for year 1.
Okay, so the date you got the job was what? What date did you get it?
I want to say it was like April 16th or something like that.
Like something around Uncle Sam paying Uncle Sam. All good. So
yeah.
take you to get 12 players? I know everybody does some things so much quicker now than ever before, but that's pretty quick.
Right. Yeah, we were fortunate. So the portal had been open like 4 days already when I got the job, and so I think I took the job on a Wednesday. I got down to Moorhead on a Friday. That Friday, kind of just got my bearings, and then the next week I came for good. And the day after my press conference, we started visits. And we had two that day, and then we had two kids come the next day, and so we had them stacked. And I was fortunate. Our assistant coach Nan Garcia, she actually played at Toledo when I coached there. She came with me, and she was here day one, and so we hit the ground running with visits. I mean, I want to say there was a stretch of 11 days, and we had a visit every single day. It's not for the faint of heart. But we were able to finalize the roster in about 5 weeks, which was elite. I mean, it was a lot faster than I thought. Like once we started getting some commits, we started rolling. I think the scary part is in the beginning when you only have one or two and you're trying to, you just don't know what you have to plug and play with. So, but we were fortunate we got it done pretty quick because I've seen, even in July, people are still adding players and, we're in week 3 of summer session already. So we're fortunate we were able to start summer with our whole group here.
Okay, so your discipline, Jackie Alexander, Moorhead State coach for the ladies, kind enough to join us. So your discipline from being in the Army, is this the toughest training? I'm not saying mean. Is this the toughest training that anybody will have on your level of college basketball?
I think the level of standards could be viewed, I wouldn't say tough, but I think there's levels to levels, right? And so, bringing in a group of 12 young ladies who haven't been together and developing, this summer, the focus for me has been the details in our culture and our standards and what Moorhead State women's basketball is about. And so I think at this level, I mean, I would be hard pressed to say that anyone is teaching or coaching or implementing, the standards the way that we are. But I don't know that the physical part is as tough. We haven't really gotten into that yet, but we will be very well conditioned and able to, compete at an elite pace.
I'm going to guess nobody you'll play will outcondition you all. Is that a fair thing?
We'll see. I hope so. I mean, everybody wants to play fast, but you have to be in shape to play fast. So I've been talking about that a lot.
I'll bet you have. Easy or tough raising money for NIL at Moorhead State?
We're in a fortunate position. Like our athletic director, Kelly Wells, he's elite. He's one of the best athletes. I've worked at a lot of places, and he's one of the best that I have worked with, if not the best. And, he does a lot of that legwork for us. So we're blessed in that regard. However, for me, a priority this summer has been getting out into the community and getting to know people, engaging with them, and having our young ladies out in the community too. I mean, Moorhead is a smaller town, so there is an opportunity for everyone to know our staff and our players by name. And I think, once we get that going and we serve the community and we impact with the way our platform allows us, we will be able to get things going a little bit more in that realm. I mean, that's kind of what we want to move towards. But to be honest, like money isn't the driver. Obviously, you need it, in some capacity, but serving and helping people really is more of the driver and trying to keep the main thing the main thing. I think it's easy for that to get lost in the era of NIL and needing donations and things like that.
You're going to be the highest scoring team in your league?
We're going to try. I have been talking a lot. One of my mentors is Rochelle Turner from Murray State, and she, has an elite transition system. I want to say last year they led the country in points per game. If not, they were top 3. And so picking her brain a lot with how to do that, triggers, different things like that they have. So she's been an elite resource for us, and we're going to try to be. I mean, we want to defend, but you got to put the ball in the basket to win games. So
I wish you all luck in the world. It's a great story. I can't imagine you won't be very successful. And maybe sometime down the road, midseason, I know you're busy. If you got a minute, maybe you can join us again. I wish you all luck in the world. And you have
love to.
You have a great boss. I think I texted to you. If not, I'm sorry. If there were back then when Kelly played, right after Lincoln was president, you can tell him I said that. He's probably he was a big time high school player, and
I've heard that. Yeah.
We put him on TV. I put him on TV. That's how old I am. And his knee was never the same. And had this been today, my guess would be, he played college ball, had a really nice career. My guess he would have had a lovely, lovely, tons better college career if surgery was different back then. But that's true of a lot of people. And he was a tough, hell of a player and a smart player, and it's great that he's at Morehead State.
Yeah, he's awesome. We're lucky to have him. So,
Jackie, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck. What a lovely story. Being in the Army, it's like any other job. I can't.
you're never going to forget I said that.
Okay. My big mouth is like any other job. It's all good.
Oh, you're hilarious. No, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to listening to your future podcast. And anytime I can be back, I'd love to.
Great. Jackie, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. Wow. So, Olivia, let me ask you, if you went to Iraq, would you consider that like any other job?
Definitely not. I've only had a few in my time on Earth, and I would not consider that like just an average day.
Is she like super, 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 super impressive?
Oh, definitely.
And to recruit 12 players in a short time period, around April 15th, whenever it was that she got the job. And 9 of her 12 players she had already been recruiting at other places, which means she's really good at establishing what? Relationships. It tells me something else. So if you're recruiting those players at East Tennessee State, I don't know the amount that were transfers, amount were freshmen and stuff like that. That means she made one heck of an impression on the people. I thought it was great when young Feldhaus became the coach and Ashton moved on to bigger and better things. And now Jackie is the coach. It's great hires by Kelly Wells. It really, really is. I mean, what a background. What a background. Captain, reaching the rank of captain with deployment to Iraq in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. That's absolutely not good. It is absolutely spectacular. It really is. Let's go to Ty Bryant and give me a thumbs up, Olivia, when you get clip number 6 queued up. When Ty Bryant was in high school, with permission from his dad, Cisco, who, dear friend, tough, wonderful player for UK. Cisco and Ty were in the studio, and we did an hour together. And it was mostly with Ty because I'd done a bunch of stuff with Cisco before. And he handled himself like a senior in college captain who was a great talker. I don't know what his grades are at Kentucky. I'm assuming it's all straight A's. But as I recall right, he got nothing that wasn't an A all the way through high school. And academics were first. He also was a heck of an outfielder. But he's going to play in the National Football League. He's a captain. He could have left more than once for more money, but he's a Kentucky kid. And a lot of other kids, by the way. He's not the only one. I don't want to make it sound like he's the only one that could have left for more money, because it's not true. It happens in a lot of places, but he wanted to be here. And he was decked out. Everybody goes to SEC Media Days, is really decked out. Had a bow tie, and he rocked it. I remember when I was doing TV, every year we had this thing. They wanted to see what your outfit was. They would kind of outfit you just for the Derby, that kind of thing. And one year I said to my boss, I want to wear a bow tie. No. I thought I could rock it. About 4 years later, they were giving bow ties out to our crew. I guess I just can't rock fashion, which I can understand. So here is Ty, and he talks about the new defense and how it's going to help him.
For me, it's definitely a lot more freedom, and I like that. It allows me to just go play ball and make plays, and ultimately do what I want to do, and that's get the ball back to the offense by creating turnovers, whether that's me picking the ball off or causing a fumble recovery. But I think just the terminology, that's a little difficult. But I mean, as far as the book goes, I mean, cover 3's cover 3, cover 4, cover 4, cover 1, cover 1. So ball is ball, just different terminology. Okay.
As Olivia looks up, I'm going to use another clip, Minchie clip number 3, and give me a thumbs up. There's a lot in that little statement. Football is football. That's just the way it is. And so different coaches, different terminology. I've wondered this before. There was a year, and I don't remember which one it was. It's Kentucky had like 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years or something like that. It was 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years, whatever it was when that time period was going on. And since a lot of plays are similar, my thought process was you're asking all these players to learn a whole new terminology because that's your terminology. And you're asking, on one side of the ball, it could be 45, 50 players to learn that side of the ball terminology. And I threw this at a coach, and I remember, I'm not going to tell you who, they said, they looked at me like, what? I'm the coach. And I was just thinking, what would it be for a really smart coach who used the same terminology as the previous coach, and put in your own plays? And you're going to have to change some things, and maybe certain plays you throw out and certain plays you put in, stuff like that. But there's a lot of similarities in terminology, which is what he's saying. And it would seem to me it would be easier for the new coach to use the same terminology because, I've talked to quarterbacks and I've talked to other players through the years where they had to learn a different system. I did it with a few quarterbacks. And you'd get to the line of scrimmage or something and you memorized whatever the coach wanted you to do and you knew the system and stuff like that. But all of a sudden you're about to spurt it out and say what the play is. But all of a sudden you have a flashback for maybe an offensive coordinator one or two times before. Because it's just human nature. That doesn't mean you didn't do your homework, and that doesn't mean you know what the hell you were talking about. But, what makes it easier for the players? Because the last thing, as everybody knows, you want a player to do is to hesitate. If you're thinking when the ball is snapped, you're screwed. I don't care if you run a 4.25 40. You can't think. You got to just react. And so I've never understood why more coaches won't say, okay, I'm going to put in my plays, but this is the language that's common, and we can adjust how I would call things to what you know. I don't understand why more coaches don't do it. I think it's selfish, by the way. I really do. And yet I can also see some coaches saying, I'll take devil's advocate. Well, I'm going to be here for 7 years, and therefore it'll take them a while for them to learn it, and then everybody will learn it my way. Okay. There's something to that, I think there's a little selfishness in there, but that's me. Okay, clip number 3 with Minchie. Here was the question. Is there anything, or was there anything tough adjusting to Kentucky?
I wouldn't say there's really any difficult parts. Coming from the north, it was a little bit colder, but I'm from Nashville, so this is very similar to what I grew up in terms of weather, atmosphere, and people. So I can't say there's a really difficult part in terms of being here. It was just that easy. It was.
I like that. It was that easy. Confident young man. I wonder what these guys, I'm going to guess Kentucky, paid for it, but they're decked out every single year. I mean, let's put it this way. I never wore clothing like that, but then again, I was a local TV guy. Just the way it is. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Acupuncture, now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Ramon Carriega, friend. Really good dude. Ridiculously smart. Acupuncture, pricking the skin or tissues with needles used to alleviate pain and to treat various physical, mental, and emotional conditions. Originating in ancient China, acupuncture is now widely practiced in the West. It's a long list of different maladies and problems that you can have that acupuncture can help. Ramon has been great for me. Use my name. Check him out. Not too far from downtown, just off Versailles Road. 859-533-0914. Jackie Alexander was great. She was just great. I mean, if you heard the whole thing, if not, it'll be on the podcast by about 2:30. I mean, how do you not root for her? How do you not root for her? What a wonderful hire by Kelly Wells. Mark Story coming up next, then the Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy after that. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Driving should feel personal, protected, centered, completely at ease the moment you pull onto the road. That's the Volvo difference. Thoughtful design, quiet confidence, and safety always working in the background so you can simply breathe and drive. Plus, the luxury of Volvo is more within reach than expected. That's why Volvo deserves your first look. At Quattro Volvo, friends, Brentley and Mark, they have built a dealership that's calm, respectful, and genuinely helpful. Right now, get 1.99% APR for up to 60 months on most 2026 models. See dealer for details. Visit QuattroVolvo.com today.
The weather is getting warmer, and the action is heating up at Circa Sports Kentucky. It's sports betting the way it should be. Whether you're betting baseball or getting ready for college football season, Circa Sports brings you player-friendly pricing, enhanced in-game options, exceptional customer service, and more. Plus, don't miss any of the action at the Circa Sportsbook at the Mint Kentucky Downs. Download your bookie today at circasports.com.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen. And she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine. I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing. And it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1392.5. WLXG Lexington. An LM Communications broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Just got a text from Cisco Bryant. He said, Alan, thank you for the love on Ty. He graduated in 3 years, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the honors he had, but it was huge. Graduated in 3 years while playing football. Okay? Here's my problem with Ty. It's about 30 times smarter than me. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Mark, I needed more than 4 years to graduate. I took a semester off. I don't know if you graduated in 3 years. I certainly did it. Mark Story, outstanding columnist, Lexington Herald leader, kind enough to join us. Hello, Mark.
Yeah, Ty's making those of us that took 6 or 7 years to get our degree. He's making us look bad.
Yeah, he's really, really impressive. You've had a couple columns recently I want to talk about that I really liked. So I have been saying the obvious that the SEC is not number one in football, hasn't been the last 3 years in the big games. They just haven't done well. They might have had more people drafted in the NFL, but the record stinks compared to this domination that they have. Well, that's just me throwing out comments, but that had to take you a lot of time to add up the numbers and stuff like that. Folks, you need to read Mark's column today. So everybody knows that, you're the commissioner, you're Sankey, you're only going to put your own positive feet forward. And that's the smart thing to do. What you're going to do, what Mark did a deep dive into the SEC and put out a number of things that Sankey couldn't or wouldn't say because it'd make him look good. What made you do it? And of all the things, I don't want to give your whole column away, but of all the things, hopefully I didn't do it and people still want to read it. What was the number one thing of your takeaway with all your research?
I think the most surprising thing, if you look at the last 3 years of the college football playoff, that was the last year of the 4-team playoff, and then the first 2 years of the 12-team playoff. The SEC is 5-9 in playoff games, and it's 2-7 in playoff games against other power teams from other power conferences. 3 of the SEC wins last year. One was Ole Miss over Tulane. Then the other 2 SEC wins were in SEC versus SEC games. Ole Miss beat Georgia, and Alabama won at Oklahoma. So, they've just been getting whacked in the college football playoff by the other power conference teams. And, the Big Ten, which obviously has won the last 3 college football national championships, the SEC's 0-4 in the playoff in the last 3 years against Big Ten teams.
I have a theory. I forgot the year. Saban was still coaching, and that was the year where I believe 5 offensive linemen for Alabama left. One of them was a Kentucky kid who wasn't playing much at Alabama, ended up not playing much here. He was a big-time high school lineman and obviously big-time enough that Alabama wanted him. And he was the one who played the least, who left. But the other 4 kids were like all this and all that. The other 4 were 4-stars. And I remember talking about the fact, the times have changed. You can't keep a lot of young backups. They're just not going to stay. They want more money. They want to play and stuff like that. And I think that, to me, is a huge reason why the SEC has slipped, because if Alabama had 2 injuries on the offensive line, they might have put a kid in without much experience, but he was a kid that was All-American this or, all this and all that, and they don't have the depth they used to have. To me, that's huge. What do you think?
I think that's part of it. I think the changes in the structure of college sports, the fact that players have so much mobility that basically you have unlimited free transferring, and then just the NIL dynamic and the fact that players are now being able to earn money. So I think those things have combined to sort of even the playing field. I think I don't think the top SEC teams can maintain kind of the dominant depth they once had. And I also think in the particular case of the Big Ten, the schools at the top of that, you've got some really big schools with really big alumni bases, really big fan bases. And I think, the motivated schools, Ohio State and Michigan especially, I think they have big NIL programs and have been able to, enhance kind of their standing vis-a-vis the top SEC schools, some of whom are in smaller states that, presumably there may not be quite as much wealth.
How do you think that's going to affect Kentucky in the long run with their new coach, Stein?
I think it's an opportunity for Kentucky. I mean, I think Indiana, and I'm not somebody that expects everybody to, do what Curt Cignetti did, because, Curt Cignetti, as it turns out, is arguably the best coach in the country. But I do think there's opportunity for, schools that have not been traditional football powers. I think there's a better chance to elevate. I think Indiana's proven that. I think what Vanderbilt has done with Diego Pavia has proven that. And I think even Kentucky under Mark Stoops has shown that, with a couple of 10-win seasons, and that really happened prior to the changes in college sports. But I do think we're in an era where there is a greater chance for mobility up or down than has been traditional in college football.
Agree 100%. Better chance of mobility. And I keep on saying this like a broken record. Curious what you think, but if this does become quarterback U, not just because of what Stein has done, and what he's done has been spectacular with quarterbacks, but also what Joe Sloan has done with quarterbacks, which has been spectacular. And if there's special quarterbacks here every year, I think everything can change on a level that I don't think a lot of people can see. If, it's a big if, Mark, if it turns out that way.
Yeah, if in recruiting quarterbacks, I think there's a pretty high hit or miss rate. I think there's a lot of guys that enter college football with big recruiting reputations that don't hit. So I think that what you have to do is you have to stack a bunch of those guys and raise your odds of getting one that hits. And I agree with you that given their pedigrees, that I think Will Stein and Joe Sloan, because of what Stein did at Oregon and what Sloan did with Jaden Daniels at LSU, I think they have a lot to sell, and I think Kentucky has a chance to parlay that into having a level of quarterback play that they've not had here consistently in a long time.
I think there'll be some quarterbacks, Mark. Tell me if you think this is crazy. I said some. What number? I have no idea. Who will actually want Stein and want Sloan to call them because of their reputation. I mean, when Nix went to Oregon, maybe I was wrong, but I didn't think he was that special of a quarterback at Auburn. I just didn't. And he got to play early. And his dad was the number one draft choice and the whole thing. And maybe it was things at the line or Auburn or he had to get away. I have no idea. All I know is he left Auburn. And I saw him a number of times in that last season going, who is this? What a difference. And he's an amazing NFL quarterback. And maybe I just couldn't see it, which could be. I have no problem with that. But he improved so much under Stein for whatever reason. To me, I thought it was remarkable. If I'm a high school kid, Mark, you know this, these high school kids, they all watch other quarterbacks and they all watch what's going on and they all know what's happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these kids are hoping Stein would call him.
Yeah, there's no question that Bo Nix was a whole lot better football player at Oregon than he had been at Auburn. And that's also true of Dante Moore last year than what he had been the prior season at UCLA. It's going to be interesting for Kentucky in the coming year because at Oregon, Stein's 3 quarterbacks, all of whom came from the portal, were all experienced and had all played, some meaningful football. And in the cases of Nix and Dylan Gabriel, had played a whole lot of meaningful football. With Kenny Minchey, you've got a guy that's really never played a meaningful college snap. So it's going to be interesting to see, what Kentucky, what's Stein and Sloan can do with him. Does it take a little longer to get that up and running? And if it doesn't take a little longer and he just starts out, playing at the level that these last three Oregon quarterbacks have been at, then yeah, this thing could really take off.
Over and under, there was a ESPN deal that came out a few days ago, and they had Kentucky. It's a computer thing, is what I understand. They had Kentucky only favored picking them in only 2 games. And look, predictions are predictions. I've been wrong on a ton of predictions. I've been right a couple of times. To me, predictions are throwing stuff against the wall. That's what I think predictions are. I thought that was unusually harsh, which is okay. Were you surprised when you saw that, or did you expect it? And a lot of the betting sites, I always love how they do this. 4.5 wins, trying to protect themselves. I think if Minchie ends up being as special as the hype is saying, Kentucky will win 4.5. Will it happen? Mark, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be a challenging schedule. Of the 5, SEC teams that were in the playoff last year, Kentucky plays 3, and Alabama, Oklahoma. I guess they play. They don't play the other 3, but they do play one of the coaches. They get Lane Kiffin again.
Right.
So it's going to be a challenging schedule for a first-year coach. But I don't. I'm not sure what to expect. I don't know. I guess my expectation is Kentucky will be quite a bit better offensively. I'm not sure about defensively. I feel good about the defensive line and the safeties. The linebackers and the cornerbacks worry me. Offensively, I think the offensive line is going to be good, and I think that's going to fix a lot of other problems. But, all this, new coach, new staff, a whole lot of new players, a lot of this, we're just going to have to see what it looks like.
Were you surprised that Stein made a comment that will stay with him? I loved it. But were you surprised when he said, we're going to win because of me?
He obviously is very confident. I maybe was a little surprised he said that on that big a platform. But, I believe that wound up on the front page of ESPN.com, and I doubt Kentucky football had ever been on the front page of ESPN.com coming out of SEC Media Days. So, I don't, I know a lot of people say he's cocky. I don't see it as cockiness, which I guess has a little bit of a negative connotation to me. I just think he's a very confident person. I mean, you look at what he's achieved in his career, because of his lack of height, and not only should he probably not have been a Division I quarterback, he probably shouldn't have been the Trinity quarterback. But, you look at what he achieved at Trinity and the state championships he won and the passing records he set. And then, nobody was recruiting him. And he basically talked his way onto the Louisville team, wound up their starting quarterback, and then got into coaching and wanted to be a play caller and wasn't getting that chance in college. So he took a high school job to learn how to call plays, then got back into college and wound up as the Oregon OC, very early in his career. I mean, this guy has basically bet on himself over and over, and he's always come through. So I'm not super surprised that he comes into this expecting to succeed.
I've called him cocky on the air a number of times, and the one time he did my show, I told him I said that, and the look on his face soon was priceless. And he said, I don't consider myself cocky. I'm just really confident. And maybe I'm different, Mark. Cocky can be negative, and it is with a lot of people, but to me, cocky is extreme confidence, and I also look at it a positive thing, but that's Cutler's dictionary, so maybe I'm wrong, Mark. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of personal, how you define it. I have kind of a negative connotation of cocky, which I think is kind of preening, and I don't think that's who he is. I just think he has a very strong belief in himself, and again, based on what he's been able to achieve so far, I think he's earned that.
Yeah, I think he has earned that. And to me, anybody who is 5'9" or 5'8", and he picks on his own height. As soon as he got here, he was doing this, which means he's been doing it for years. Anybody who's that height and starting a game in major college football, I don't care if it's Louisville, Kentucky, I don't care where it is, you got to be cocky. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's incredible what he accomplished. And you're right, to do what he did at Trinity, you can say Trinity has great football players, but I bet he was the shortest quarterback all of them, and look what the heck he did. I'm probably more excited about this football season than I have been in a number of years. Are you the same way, or is it just newness and freshness and curiosity?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. You know, again, as I was saying earlier, I don't know exactly what to expect. It's kind of I start saying it's kind of a blank slate. It's not kind of a blank slate. It is a blank slate. So yeah, and I just think, I think running the football and playing good defense. If you look at the best Kentucky football teams of my lifetime, top 5 probably were all defined by they ran the ball and played really good defense. And those were the best Mark Stoops teams. But I think people had sort of just gotten tired of that brand of football. I think the fact that, people are going to see something different, and we think they'll see a far more dynamic offense. And they say they're going to take more risk on defense and play kind of a more gambling style, which, we'll see how that works. But I think on both sides of the ball, you're going to see, a stylistic changes that I think a lot of the fans want to see. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting season.
Switching to TBT, with all the difficulty, and 20 works his tail off. He does this year round, and I can't imagine there's a player who possibly could play that he doesn't contact, and he lines up the sponsors and this, that, and the other. When you're having this much difficulty to get players to play, I've been questioning, and I don't know, but I think it's fair to question the future of La Familia if you're having that much trouble and you can't get 7 guys who play for UK. That's the number that they want you to have on their roster. The future of the TBT, to me, is up in the air. Is that too strong, or do you see it that way?
Yeah, it sort of feels like that, and I've enjoyed the TBT, and I think it's served an important purpose for Kentucky because it sort of came up when you were going through this coaching transition. And I think it was important for the players from the Calipari era to see that, they're loved and valued here, even if, the fans had grown weary of John Calipari himself, that the players from that era, they're Wildcats and they're appreciated in that way. And I think the TBT has played a big role in sort of showing that. I think it's been valuable to the University of Kentucky basketball program. But, to me, they need to get younger. They need to get younger players to come back and play. And I don't know if there's a negative connotation that if you wind up playing in the TBT, people feel like that sort of says, okay, I'm not going to make it, in the NBA, or, I'm not going to make it as a professional basketball player. So I don't know if that keeps kind of the younger players from doing this, but they just need to get younger.
Yeah, I'm concerned about some of these guys who are playing over in Europe or something like that, and they have a soft tissue injury with their hamstring and they're past 30, and it takes them a little bit longer to heal. So, yeah, but now the other day, Harrell was just ridiculous. I think it was 14-16, whatever it was. But I've kind of enjoyed watching the games. I've enjoyed the intensity of the game and how these guys want to win. Let me throw something in left field. I'm a huge fan of Elam, and I had Elam on last year, and I don't understand. Tell me I'm nuts. Why this hasn't made the transition, let's say, into high school basketball? To me, this is I don't see the NBA. We're not talking about that, Mark. But can't you see the value of Elam with the intensity that picks up, with the veracity of the, oh my gosh, I got to make this shot more than the last shot? I think it makes it more intense. I think it makes more fun. I mean, and Harrell hit that 3. Kentucky's out. He hit a straight on 3, and he was short. It just brings added intensity, legitimate. I love it, and he's been trying to get leagues to look at this, but nobody will. Do you like it as much as I am, or are you saying, "Oh, come, that's silly. There's no league that'll ever do it"?
Well, I like it. I mean, I think I've liked it in the TBT. I mean, basically, you get a game-winning shot in every game. It is such a huge change. I mean, it would be a really radical departure, and you're sort of severing your game from the entire history of your sport if you make that fundamental a change. So I understand the reluctance why, the quote unquote, mainstream leagues are, are reluctant to make the change. But, I agree with you, at least as it's used in the TNT, it's fun.
And finally, we're going to see a game clock in high school basketball in Kentucky, which I think is long overdue. So I'm with you. It's slow to change. I just love the intensity of it. I just do. And it's clean. It's not negative. It's all clean, and it just picked up. Matter of fact, John had even said that if they played as hard for the entire game as they did when the Elam thing went up, that Kentucky played harder, even though they were getting blown out, which I thought was interesting. What do you think of this Archie Goodwin thing? I'm kind of chuckling. And so I don't know, did he have a wedding Saturday, not have a wedding Saturday? Harrison ripped him or ripped guys who they said it was okay to announce and they don't show up. I wonder if it's going to fracture some relationship with some of these guys. What's your take on all this, not having enough guys? Guys are supposed to be here. They don't show up, whatever. I'm sure there's stories on both sides of the coin. How do you take all this?
Well, it's been kind of disappointing just that, they announced a lot of guys that have not wound up playing without knowing kind of the full story. It's hard to render, a great judgment. I'm sure they never dreamed they would have somebody arrested by the FBI for one thing.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously wouldn't have had me. Kurt did my show a couple days before he got arrested, and he talked about being saved and how he's changed his life, and he was unbelievably positive. And then this happens. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, and then this happened. It was kind of shocking. I don't know if you heard him during my show about the things that he said. And for example, he's been away from home, and he'd only been home like 5 times in 6 years. And his grandfather was like his father, and he passed away, and he didn't get to see him and his family much anymore because he wanted to play basketball. He was tugging at your heart. And then you find out the FBI thing. It's crazy.
Well, people are complicated.
Yes, they are. And I've always said, I can like somebody, yet there's sides of people that we're just never going to know. And until something comes out, you don't know. So you can only judge by how somebody relates to you. I don't know how else you do it. Last thing, Mark. I thought this was brilliant by Pope. And he doesn't get enough credit. I'll criticize. You do the same thing in your columns. I think going to Vegas was brilliant. One, they got to practice in the morning, and there was a clip on UK Sports Network. I'm taking this information from them as they get the first crack at Mark. So they practice in the morning, and all these NBA people are there watching his team practice, getting to know his kids a little bit. That's got to be a great recruiting tool and great for everybody on the team. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what Cal did when he brought in all those scouts and GMs and stuff like that early on, and he was way ahead of his time as doing it. And then, the players got to go on the Vegas Strip and shop and do whatever they want. Pope's not around, and that's fine. And they get to sit in the first row in the summer league and to watch it and get a feel of it and get to see, former teammates, and friends. Apparently, Malachi Marino said the only thing he wanted to do was to see Amari play. My first thought was, I wonder how many. I think it's brilliant. What a brilliant trip in the summertime. Get away from Lexington, still have a fun trip and play basketball and get a taste of what the NBA is like. I wonder how many other coaches across the country, when they're meeting with their staff, going, "Hey, why didn't we think of this?" I think this was brilliant by Pope.
Yeah, I think there were some clear pluses. I think they got some attention. I was sort of half watching a summer league game and wasn't really paying that close attention. But then the announcers were talking about having seen the Kentucky team, at games there in Las Vegas, which, that's some national attention. And you're right. I thought, you do get some exposure to, NBA scouts and NBA executives and it was a team bonding exercise, or I'm sure it was intended that way. Would it have been better to have, gone somewhere and played some games? I'd say probably. I don't think that's as important as it once was because everybody can practice now. You can practice in the summer. So the advantage used to be of those tours was you got to practice when nobody else did.
Right. Yeah, and maybe see Italy or something like that. I'm not so sure going to Vegas isn't better because, all these kids want to go to the NBA and you're around it and that kind of stuff. I can just see coaches talking to their assistants. Why didn't we think of that? Mark, give yourself a great plug. Enjoy reading you. Really, really enjoyed the quarterback column and really enjoyed how you step by step with facts talked about where the SEC stands. And by the way, I'm with you that the number one stat to me isn't how bad they were in the last 3 national championship years, blank, 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 but 2-7 against other conferences in the last 9 games. And not all SEC schools, duh. And that really speaks volumes. So that the SEC has slipped, even though they're still putting a ton of people in the NFL.
I think the SEC is still probably better than the Big Ten from top to bottom, but I just don't think there's any argument at all that the top of the Big Ten has just been vastly superior to the SEC the last 3 years.
Yep, I agree. Give yourself a great plug for everything you do, how to read you, how to reach you, how to check you on social media, please.
Well, you can read me at Kentucky.com. Just go to my column site, and I post stories on X, Facebook, Blue Sky, and I even post my stories on LinkedIn. So I'm easy to find.
Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks. Mark Story. Really good stuff. I suggest everybody read his column about the SEC. Boom. Boom. You know, I'd love to know the reaction, and you're never going to get one, of people in the front office of the SEC. There's really nothing they could possibly say that could be negative outside. I don't like it. But I don't see how you can say I don't like it. Olivia, am I boring you? You're yawning. Really? Am I that bad? You know what that's called? Busted. It's all good. I wasn't going to wait a month into you being the producer of the show before acting like my normal self. Doesn't that sound fair? I think so. Oh, I can see a look. I'm going to get a look. It's all good. I wonder what they actually think in the SEC office. I can see some people saying, well, I don't like it, but you know what? I can't argue with any of this. Because it's bullseye. It's bullseye. And it's interesting. The top in the Big Ten has been better, but I agree with Mark. There's more good players in the Southeastern Conference. Look at who's getting drafted. But I still think, and maybe I think this is a little bit stronger than Mark. We have different opinions. I think the depth is the big thing. I really do. Because Alabama could get so much more talent than they have now. They could. And they're not the only one. And kids leave Alabama and Georgia, where in the good old days, not that long ago, before NIL and kids leaving so much, and you can transfer, when you could transfer all the time, kids aren't staying. They're not staying. And so you had instant backup, or kids had more patience. They have less patience now than ever before. I think that's got everything to do with it. Everything to do with it. And I tell you what, when it comes to healing, Terry Page has everything to do with it. A great licensed massage therapist. Check her out. She's been wonderful for me. I keep on saying that every day. 859-373-0578. Many of you have gone to see her because of what I say. 859-373-0578. And I would not say these wonderful things about her if I didn't mean it. She's been great for me. Butler, Kentucky, Monday and Tuesday. Lexington, Thursday and Friday. Text her. Set an appointment up. Use my name. Coming up, talking baseball. Hal McCoy in the Hall of Fame. Got a long list of things to talk to him about. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show on ESPN 92.5 and 1300 AM and on the ESPN Lexington app. Presented by Republic Bank.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
Ready to feel the surge? Good, because Cadillac didn't come to play. At Quantrill Cadillac, this is power redefined. all-electric speed or gas-fed adrenaline, built to move, built to lead. Right now, get in with financing as low as 2.9% APR for up to 60 months on select models. No limits. No apologies. Just drive. Check them out. I love the Cadillacs. QuattroCadillac.com. See dealer for details.
$30 million in guaranteed prizes. Cash in this football season in Las Vegas with 3 Circa Sports contests. Entries starting at $1,000, all with no rate. Circa Million, 18 weeks of point spread action, 128 ways to win. Circa Survivor, pick one winner each week, last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo with a $100,000 entry. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. $30 million guaranteed. Visit circasports.com for details.
ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Talking baseball.
Can't cut off talking baseball. I'm going to cry.
Talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke.
One of my favorite songs of all time, believe it or not, who just happens to be one of Hal McCoy's favorite songs of all time. Hello, Hall of Famer. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I love when he lists all the nicknames in the song. It's fabulous.
It really is. It really is. I wonder if it took very long, once you're into the mode, if you're into baseball, which they obviously were, it probably didn't take that long to write the song.
I wouldn't think so. As I recall, he also did songs on just different teams, and that those were good too.
Yep, for the love of the game. Speaking of love of the game, where would the Reds be without Chase Burns, who is 12-1? 12-1 with an ERA of 2.42. Can he win the Cy Young Award?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. Who's pitching any better than that? I mean, the Reds are 15-4 in the games that he has started. Subtract those from their won and loss records, and you'd see where they are. Way lower in the last place than they are already.
I thought it was smart that they pulled him after 91 pitches, which is only 5 innings, because even Francona said after the game what you have been saying, that at a certain point, you got to have to shut him down because he's never pitched this many innings, and now you have invested $105 million guaranteed, and he's already pitched 107 innings, and they're going to have to do something. And you didn't like the 7-year contract, did you?
No, I did not. 2 things. I was shocked that he signed for $105 million. That's $15 million a year. It's one hell of a great move by the Reds to get him for that. I mean, the guy's worth $30 million, and but the fact that they signed him, said I don't like signing pitchers to long-term contracts. 3 years should be enough for a pitcher. They're one pitch away from Tommy John surgery, one pitch away from ruining their arm. It's a heck of a gamble by the Reds, in my opinion.
And the crazy thing was, you were pointing out last week that his fastball is a little slower, which could mean 2 things. Maybe he's just a little tired because he's pitched so much, or there's always that fear factor when this fastball, is click, 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 click slower. That is there a problem? I mean, that's what coaches get anal about.
Francona even mentioned after the game last night that his fastball wasn't what it normally is, but he has that slider that goes into the dirt that hitters swing at all the time. But his fastball velocity is down a little bit, and it looked to me like his command of his fastball was down a little bit too. But I mean, how can you argue with the 11 consecutive starts with a win? But as far as shutting him down, what I would like to see them do is put him in the bullpen and make him the closer.
I love that. And occasionally innings and space out
one
his.
inning.
You would only
one in.
You would only go one inning.
Go ahead. Yeah, I would make him the closer. I mean, they're going to control his innings. He's already at 107 2/3 innings, which he's never pitched that many innings before in his life. I think one inning as a closer in the bullpen, unless maybe it's a tie game in the 8th inning or a 1-run lead in the 8th inning, then maybe you bring him in the 8th. But I would love to see him be the closer, lights out.
I think that's a great idea, by the way. You still keep him involved. I wouldn't let him pitch 3 days in a row, which I know you're going to say if I didn't. I don't know if I'd let him go back-to-back days.
No.
But, let me retract something. When I said 2 innings, I was throwing it as a question. But my thing is, if they get close to the wild card, isn't that comical? They're so far in last place, it's not even funny. If they get close to the wild card and you need a second inning, then you see how he's feeling and stuff like that. But with them having no shot of even making the playoffs, I'm with you. Just do 1 inning, whatever.
Right.
Another 20 innings this year. It's still way more than he'd done in the past.
Yeah, plus the fact that the Reds don't need a closer that often, maybe twice a week. And, those are the 2 innings he could pitch.
Okay, I got to throw this at you. With as cheap as the Reds are versus the analogies that happen all the time. Tampa Bay doesn't have money. Look what they do. Milwaukee doesn't have any money. Look what they do. There's a comparison in the amount of money that these 3 teams spend. The Yankees, with all the money they spend, and I think we talked about this last year when I brought it up, the Yankees have done it again. They don't spend bupkis on their bullpen. I believe, and I don't know this factually, but nobody's making in the Yankees team in the bullpen what Pagan is making at all. The Yankees have once again picked up guys either on the scrap heap or weren't wanted or got cheaply, and their bullpen is much better than the Reds. It's not even close. It's nothing to do with money. It has to. Is it the pitching?
No.
Is it evaluating tape? Is it a combination of both? And oftentimes the guys they pick up, not all the time. Matter of fact, they'll tell the guy they got from the Giants, I thought he'd be perfect, and he's actually worse. So not every case is correct. But, I mean, you got to be honest. It is what it is. But most of the time, they pick up guys on the cheap, and they're so much better than the guys that the Reds pick up on the cheaps. It's not even close. It's baffling because people say the Yankees have got all money. They've been cheap in the bullpen forever.
I think it comes right down to scouting. The Yankees have always had a good scouting department, and I think that's probably what it boils down to. And speaking of the Yankees, I'm sitting here in the man cave with a white label Churchill watching your Yankees play the Pirates, and Derek Cole is dealing. Struck out 5 of the first 6 Pirates.
That makes me feel so good. By the way, your cigar you're smoking, correct?
Yes.
How many you doing?
Yes, Monica. I do more than I should. I do 3 or 4.
Okay.
My wife says I should take a $50 bill and just burn it every day. And I said, well, that doesn't taste good.
If you think I'm going to get involved with you and Nadine, I'm not very smart when it comes to relationships, but I ain't that stupid.
Well, I say stuff like that when she's not around, of course.
I thought you were going to tell me you say it when she is around. This is from This is from your column, and I love it. And I say all the time, you don't read Hal's column. You pumped out 2 in like one day. What are you doing? And these are long columns. I mean, you're banging like crazy. And so you did a thing on Scott Rowland. And why don't you tell your story first, if you don't mind giving something up from your column, and then I have a Scott Rowland story that won't surprise you either, but yours is much better than mine. Scott Rowland, great third baseman. Before you say anything, because he was the leader who turned everything around with the Reds in that time period. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He is a Hall of Famer.
I went
But
brain. Is he? I went. That's my bad.
yeah,
Seriously,
he went in last year.
last
He went
year.
in last year, and
Apologize.
yep.
Guy who loves baseball screwed that up big time. Go ahead, please, and thank you for correcting me.
When he arrived at the Reds the first day, I went up to interview him, and I was interviewing him by myself. And in the course of the interview, a cameraman and a TV guy came over my shoulder, and the TV guy stuck his microphone over my shoulder. The cameraman started filming. Scott Rowland put up his hand and very politely said to them, "I am talking to Mr. McCoy, and I would be glad to do an interview with you, but this is a private conversation right now." And I knew right then this was a class guy. I mean, he said it very nicely, and just let him know that this was a private thing between us. And he didn't know me from Adam at the time, and I was surprised he knew my name. But that was how we got started, and I've loved the guy ever since. You want me to tell the Dusty Baker story?
Let me do this one first, and then we'll go to Dusty.
Okay. All right.
I've only talked to Scott Rowland one time. It's before he was the season after the Reds? I don't remember the exact year. My apology. And I'm covering UK basketball, and I'm looking in the corner, and Scott Rowland is standing in the corner all by himself. And you know what? He's a big man on TV. To me, he was even a bigger man physically when you walk up. I went up, introduced myself, whatever. Can I ask you 3-4 questions? He said, sure. So first thing I says, what are you doing here? He goes, I grew up wanting to play basketball for Kentucky. And he just wanted
I knew he loved basketball.
He had some big time offers, by the way.
Yes, he did.
Kentucky was not one of them, but he had some big time offers. And he said, as much as I love baseball, I love playing basketball, and I love Kentucky. And I asked 3-4 questions. So thanks. He kind of looked at me like, you're done, that kind of thing. But if you say somebody 3-4 questions, come on, Hal, you've done this a million years. There are too many times you've seen reporters who ask 15, 18 questions when you don't need 15, 18 questions. Whatever. Thanked it. And he went back to the corner. I saw him after the game, smiled at him, and he nodded back to me, which I thought was pretty cool. Kind, polite. You had no feeling at all that he was a big-time player or big-time. He was like ridiculously down to earth, and that was just a short impression by me.
And he never changed. He was always that way. And he did not say much in the clubhouse, but the players totally respected him, and he was the leader. And if they came up to him and asked for advice, or he always gave it to them, and just a great, great leader. And I never saw him say a crossword, never saw him down. You never knew if he was 4 for 4 or 0 for 4. He remained the same. Just one of my all-time favorite people.
I'm using bad grammar on purpose here, which I often do. It just comes out of my mouth. There ain't nobody on the Reds like Scott Rowland, the leader, is there? Not even close.
Not even close, no. Hasn't been for a long time.
Are there a lot of leaders like Scott Rowland in baseball today, or was he that much of a positive aberration?
Well, not being around other teams that much these days, I don't really know, but I would be very surprised because in all the years I covered the Reds, he was number one in that category to me. I mean, the Reds have had some pretty good leaders over the years, but he was different. He was above and beyond.
This is not fair. Off the top of your head, can you rank the top 5 leaders? And if you can't, because I'm throwing it at you too quick, is Rowland? I mean, you've only covered the Reds for over 50 years, so it's not like you haven't talked about it.
Yeah, well, you start with Joe Morgan with the Big Red Machine.
Gotcha.
I mean, they had so many great players, but I would say he was a leader along with Tony Perez. They actually had 2 of them. And Barry Larkin was a good leader for the Reds during his domain. And will surprise you with one being my top 5 was Kevin Mitchell when he played for the Reds. And he did it in a different way. I'll never forget when the Reds brought in Larry Lubers, pitcher. He was walking past Kevin Mitchell's locker before he's making his first start. And Kevin Mitchell says to him, "What's your name?" "Lugers. If you have me chasing balls out there in the outfield, I'm going to take a Luger to you."
Welcome to the clubhouse, kid.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. But to me, Scott Rowland is at the top of the list. And like I say, there's been a lot of great leaders on that team.
You know, I always remember Kevin Mitchell, not just for the humongous home runs he hit, but that catch he made with one hand,
Barehanded, yes.
Going away from
he
him.
Overran the ball into foul territory, and then he reached back and grabbed it with his bare hand.
Yeah, you know, his career ended sooner than I thought it was going to. I thought he'd be a guy that would have played forever.
Well, he got kind of out of shape. He was a big man anyway, but
he was
in the later years he put on a lot of weight. But the man could hit in his pajamas.
Yeah, yep. He got very, very, very heavy, which is sad because he had a lot to give. Okay, let's go to Dusty Baker, Hal McCoy, Mr. Hall of Famer.
Well, when Dusty Baker's father died, and Dusty was very, very close to his father. At the wake after the funeral, Dusty catered it for a big meal. And he went to pay the bill, and the caterer said, "The bill has been paid for." And Dusty said, "Well, who paid for it?" "Scott Rowland." And that was when he paid. That was when he played for Dusty with the Reds. Rowland paid for it, and he actually told the caterer not to tell him, but the caterer did.
That's unbelievable.
What kind of class is that?
Oh, unbelievable. And it's not like Dusty didn't have any money. That's not the point. The point is...
No kidding. He probably had more than Scott Rowland.
I bet he did too. But the point is the gesture by Scott Rowland caring about just Dusty and just wanted to take one other little thing off his plate and just to tell Dusty how much he cared about him.
That's exactly right. He told me one time that Dusty was the best manager he ever played for. And he played for a lot of them.
Yeah, and I still don't know why Dusty didn't continue managing. They didn't have 12 people calling him the second he walked away. I can't put that out a year. I just can't believe the stupidity of people not knowing, he knows baseball, but the great people person that he was. Baseball does some things, and they're just dumber than a box of rocks. They should have been clamoring.
How stupid were the Cincinnati Reds that they fired the man?
That was dumber than
he had 1 year left on his contract. He had taken them to the playoffs. They lost the wild card game to the Pirates, but they had a very good team at the time. And Bob Castellini fired the man. Dusty said he knew late in the season he had always gotten along very well with Bob Castellini. One game late in the season, he said, "I'm a great person at reading people's faces." And he said Bob Castellini was sitting next to the dugout. And he looked at Bob, and Bob had this steely glare at him. He said, "I knew then I was in trouble."
What a dumb move by Castellini. Dumb move.
Yes. One of many.
Yes.
One of many.
Pointed something out, and I didn't realize this, so let me say that straight off. The Rowland thing, I just went, I don't know what happened to what's between my ears, but I did not realize that the Reds have 19 owners. Now, many of them are small, but it's still 19. And as you pointed out in your great column on Facebook, the Brewers have 5. Tampa Bay has 3.
Right.
Does one of the 19 owners need to be consulted and maybe ask for permission when a trade has happened, or does Castellini make that decision? It just seems like a cluster, you know what, if you try to make a move with different thoughts and opinions. How did this work? And having 19 owners, does that hamper the Reds' ability to make moves, or is it really just the Castellini family and then they find a way to pass it on? But if I'm an owner, I don't want to find out on Twitter. I don't want to find out on ESPN. I don't want to find out in the next day's newspaper, whether it's the Cincinnati paper, the Dayton paper, which you did a spectacular. I don't want to. You got to tell me if I'm putting up this money. I want to know. 19 owners. That seems almost unworkable. Or am I out of line?
No, I think you're right. That's why I pointed that out. I mean, there are minority owners. Some of them have small pieces, but still, they have money invested, and they probably want to know what's going on before they make a move. And maybe if one or two or three of the owners say, "I don't like it," maybe he doesn't do it. I don't know if they give him full responsibility himself, but I would doubt that very much.
So, is it possible, or has it been done without a team saying they're for sale in your history? I've got about 90 seconds, so I got to ask you this quickly. With your baseball, has ever been a billionaire who would have their representative call up somebody like the Reds and say, "I know your team is not for sale, but we'd like to buy it"? Does that happen?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know about that. Not being a billionaire myself, but yeah, I would think it probably has happened.
I just wonder if it's in the best interest of baseball that quietly, behind the scenes, with respect, by the way, no matter what you think of the Castellinis, I think there's a certain level of respect that you owe people to say, "Hey, look, if you choose not to put more money into the team, we can't make you, but it would be," here's that phrase that you love, "the best interest in baseball if we could find a billionaire who would commit to putting a lot more money into the payroll and the team." If I'm commissioner of baseball, and I get it, you got to be delicate, okay? But there's enough billionaires out there who would like to do it. I don't understand why there isn't more quiet meddling. Am I nuts?
No, you know what? I think it has happened. I don't know if there was an offer or not, but I know Bowie Kuhn tried to get Charlie Finley out of baseball.
I remember that.
In the best interest of baseball, which was Bowie Kuhn's favorite phrase. Which is why he negated the trade that the Reds made for Vida Blue.
Which was awful. Can you imagine Vida Blue on the Reds, and the Yankees made a trade that they negated it. And Charlie Finley was just stubborn, but and it would never work. And maybe Castellini doesn't want to give it up. I don't know. But, people do like money. And I don't know what the Reds are worth, but suppose you paid, I'm being serious, I'm really tight now on time, my bad. You offered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 million more, because if a billionaire buys it, by the time they sell it, it's going to be worth that and then some. I'm just surprised quietly behind the scenes this stuff hasn't happened more. Maybe it hasn't. I know nothing, and we know nothing. That's all.
Well, the Reds franchise, since Castellini and the group bought it, is worth a whole lot more than it was then. So, if he sold it, he would make a whole lot of money.
Al McCoy, God bless you. Talking baseball. Love talking to you. Your columns are spectacular. Check them out on Facebook. Thank you for the joy of our conversation.
As always, it's my pleasure, my good friend.
Thank you, pal. Back at you. One of these days, I want to go with you, meet you when you go to Columbus, and you make a couple shekels, not that I'm going to bet, just to hang out with you and have a drink. I want to do that, seriously.
I would love that. Let's make it happen.
You know what? We'll talk privately, making it happen. As long as I can do my show, we'll figure out something. I'm absolutely going to do it.
All right. Sounds great.
Bless you, Hal.
Take care, buddy.
Bye. He's the best. Jackie Alexander. Wow, was she spectacular. Olivia will have the podcast up in about a half hour or so. Captain, went to Iraq, head basketball coach at Morehead State. Mark Story, always good. Hal McCoy, what joy, what pleasure. Olivia, first day you're running the show, did you boss? I know we're late, but did you boss Sean around a little bit, I hope?
Definitely not. I had a few mishaps that I needed his help on.
Yeah, it's all good. You're doing a great job. Okay, I'll know when you're comfortable if you tell Sean, God, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. That day is going to happen soon. No, you're doing a great job. I appreciate you. Coming up next, Brad Taylor. After that, Wildcat Drive. Sean, you have something intelligent to say about Wildcat Drive for a change?
I do. It's preempted because the Reds play at 4 or at 3:50.
Forget the Reds play at 4. Of all days for me to throw it at you that way. Shut up, Cutler. Thank you for listening. Allie Cutler, 1300 AM. Are you smiling, Sean? Are you smirking at me? Yep. 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Driving should feel personal, protected, centered, completely at ease the moment you pull onto the road. That's
Okay.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler at 1300 AM and 92.5 FM. Hoops, 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 my dear friend, Hall of Famer Dick Hoops Weiss. The man with $1 million smile, former UK great Reggie Hansen, and big-time amateur golfer Tony Wise. See you at noon.
Oh.